Hello again. I am your host, Felipe Milicio. You're listening to the Total Basis Podcast. And with me, as always, is Austin Spiro. Austin, how are you doing this afternoon now?
All right. It's just been a day of podcasting, so I'm good. Get to talk about baseball.
What, you're doing round trippers after this too, or what?
I'll probably be doing round trippers work. So, we'll see.
Work. Oh, okay. Oh, you're like researching and stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. On the other side from Alabama is Sean Flannery. Sean, how you doing?
We're good. Let's kick out the National League, the better league.
You saw that I was trying to rhyme Alabama with Flannery, right?
Oh, that was tragic then.
Yeah, I gotta be more like Eminem. He's from Alabama. His name is Sean Flannery.
Oh God, no. I really just want to stop this episode now.
All right, well, this was the Total Basis. No, we're here to let's start with the. Yeah, we did the American League East. I'm sorry, the American League and the Player Awards, and that went very long, a lot longer than I anticipated. So we decided, you know what, let's just do a second part episode with the National League. Now we're basically looking at our predictions that we did back in April and see not even we haven't really paid too much attention to our predictions, so I don't even know what we've done in terms of seeing if we were right or we were wrong, but it looks like we're more wrong than right per natural. That's just the way it goes. But can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so we begin with the National League West because we left off in the American League West, so now we're gonna go in a circle across the country because that's how my brain works. And most of us have the Dodgers finishing in first, except for Henry Maldonado from Dong City. He wanted the Padres. He explained that the Padres, it's their time this year to get the number one seed and beat the Dodgers outright in that division because they're just too talented to be this bad.
And this was done before the Tatis injury, correct?
I don't remember.
Was it? Yeah, it had to be like right before.
It was done just before the Tatis injury.
Are you sure? Because it looks like this was done in April. April, and the show was done on April 7th. So when did Tatis hurt? I mean, was he playing spring training games then?
I don't know. Oh, maybe it wasn't, I guess. Well, maybe we thought Tatis was going to be back sooner.
Spring training was also delayed.
Yeah, but not this delay. I mean, this episode happened in early April.
Right here.
So while Sean looks that up.
Yeah. Go. Yeah. You keep going. I'll look.
Excuse me. Most of us had the Padres finishing in second, except for Vince having the Giants make the playoffs and being the second place team in the West. And the Total Basis Podcast, which is Felipe, Austin, and Sean, had the Giants finishing in third place. And then Vince and Henry are kind of figuring if the Padres or Giants would finish in third place. And where we were all consistent was the D-backs and Rockies finishing in fourth and fifth place. So as it stands right now, it is the Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Diamondbacks, and Rockies. Felipe was right. Everybody else was wrong. So actually, no, I take it back. The Total Basis Podcast was correct. And Dong City was wrong. So that is what it looks like right now. We can start with the Dodgers, Austin. Dodgers are going to do Dodger things, right? Is that what it is right here?
Yeah, the Dodgers are just going to be the Dodgers. I mean, they have the pitching, they have the offense, they have the depth. They're quite the opposite from the White Sox. They have the depth, and most everybody is performing the way that they're supposed to. You have Mookie Betts, who's having an MVP season. You have everybody who's fitting in their roles. Freddie Freeman kind of had a slow start at the beginning, but has come into his own. And is fitting in nicely in that Dodgers lineup. You have Trey Turner doing Trey Turner things. The pitching staff headed by a really good season from Tyler Anderson. Everybody, they're firing on all cylinders. They're the best team in the NL right now. I really think this is, once again, I think this is the Dodgers' division to lose. It's the Dodgers' league to lose. I think the NL is the Dodgers' to take. So we'll see how it goes because I think the Mets will have something to say about it. But I mean, I think the Dodgers' offense is better than the Mets' offense. So that's why I say I think the Dodgers are the favorite to take the whole NL.
As of right now, they are at 16.1% to win the World Series. We'll get to the other teams in just a bit, but yeah, let's keep that. But put it this way, that is the best odds, not just in the National League, but I believe it's also the best odds in the entire baseball, according to Fangraphs. So Yeah, they I know they hit a snag for a little bit a while ago, but it looks like they figured things out. And like you mentioned, they have the depth not just in the major league roster, but also in the minor league system. They trade all their prospects, and then they come back with us. They're just reproduce new ones. Like, it's amazing what they do over there. And we talk about it a lot, but this is what happens when you get a guy like Andrew Friedman, who was already putting up really good teams in Tampa Bay. You give him the resources, unlimited resources to do whatever he wants, and these are the results. So, yeah. Anyway, what do you got for me, Sean, over there?
Just with the Dodgers, like Austin kind of hit on it. You know, Tony Gonsolin's probably right up there for the Cy Young. Will likely start the All-Star game with it being in LA. But you see, they lose Walker Buehler, Dustin May. You know, has been out since last year. In the bullpen, they never really got anything from Victor Gonzalez this year after a great season last year. Blake Trinan went down. Daniel Hudson went down. Really, their bullpen got beat up, and they just keep going. Granted, I think the bullpen is an area of need for them going forward. Kimbrel is really looking like he's possibly starting to crack. I mean, 10 years is a long time. There's a lot of miles on that arm. They really haven't seemed like they want to make Vesia the closer. Gratterall doesn't really seem like the actual typical closer despite his velo. But even when it comes to the lineup, you know, they've had some injuries. Jake Lamb, the ghost of Jake Lamb is back in the Dodgers lineup at DH. Trace Thompson, Zach McKinstry. They just do all the little things, and they still have prospects coming out the wazoo that could help them if need be.
They have your guy too, Sean. They have your guy there too, Hunter Alberto.
The lefty crusher, except he hasn't been hitting lefties this year. But like he's such a typical guy that it's like, yeah, he plays everywhere. He does one thing really well. It's just something that the Dodgers seem to do with a lot of guys. But even if they do need more reinforcements, they have guys like Bobby Miller already up. He's not on the 40-man yet, but could be a person they look to in terms of the bullpen, or if they need more help in the rotation. Kershaw's ageless and just came back off the IL doing, Kershaw things.
Yeah. And never fear that, like I said, minor leaguers that we should know: Michael Busch, Miguel Vargas, infielders there who are probably going to be ready to help out later this year. It's just a fun team to look at. This is what teams should be doing with.
This guy isn't going to help this year, but he's one of my new favorite prospects in the Dodgers system. And I'm going to butcher the name. I don't know exactly how it's supposed to be pronounced, but it's Jorbit Vivas. And he's kind of like Luis Arias, and nobody's really talking about him. He's in high A right now, batting .273, not great, but he's walking more than he strikes out. He's done that. He did that last year as well in high A, 21 years old. And he just seems like one of those guys that's going to grow up and get some power in like a year. And he's going to be a top 100 guy. But like I said, they just have prospects coming out of everywhere. It's kind of ridiculous.
Let's move on to go ahead. I'm sorry, Austin.
Another Dodger prospect that is kind of in the lower system right now that I was looking at. Actually, I kind of found him when it came to I was looking for prospects for my fantasy team, and I was actually quite impressed with this guy, is Gavin Stone. So Gavin Stone is pretty impressive. Nobody's really talking about him. He's in the lower, I believe he's in high A, if I remember correctly.
He just got promoted, I believe. I think he's in double A. Yeah.
He's in double A now. I mean, his future value was 40 plus, but the stats that he's got going in the single A is he's not giving up home runs. He's pitching, he's got innings behind him. His ERA has gotten better as the competition has gotten tougher. In 2021 in single A, he had a 3.73 ERA, and then he got promoted to high A and was a 3.86 ERA. Now he's pitched high A with high A for the Dodgers, which is Rancho Cucamonga, and they were at he's at a 1.44 ERA, and now in 9 games at double A, he's pitching a 1.29 ERA. So his ERA is decreasing as the competition is getting better. dude is pretty impressive. So
yeah, 36% in Double-A so far. It's a little wild.
yeah.
All right, we move on to the Padres. Then we talked about Manny Machado in the other episode about how there's really nobody around him that can. They have no business being in second place. And this is a team that was a highly ranked farm system just a couple of years ago. And guess what?
They traded them all.
All of them were traded just so they can be competitive this year.
Yeah.
And Fernando Tatis was supposed to be the centerpiece of it all, and he can't stay healthy to save his life. But yeah, it just goes back to our conversation about what do we do with prospects? What do we do? How do we properly gauge these guys? And the Padres, they basically said, yeah, these guys are not here to help us. They're here to be commodities for trade pieces to get veterans like
Yu Darvish, Blake Snell,
Trent Grisham, I guess,
Joe Musgrove,
Austin Nola.
like it's just the weirdest collection of names. Once again, another 6-man rotation. We mentioned it several times in the American League version, but this is another 6-man rotation here.
That's the new way to go now.
Yep.
It seems like every team is slowly but surely doing that now.
We talked about it coming off, the COVID year and kind of how they were going to handle it. Was a lot of these teams wanted 6-man rotations, and we're kind of seeing it.
Yeah. As much as we poo-poo the Angels for doing that, all the good teams are doing it. The Astros, the Brewers, the Padres, which is causing a lot of frustration in fantasy circles. But in real baseball, it seems to be working, and that might be the way to go from now on. Bullpen is the weakest I've seen out of this team, which is ironic because I always liked the Padres bullpen. I thought the Padres bullpen was loaded into this season. I'm looking at the roster right now, though. There's a lot of names that are missing from the original list that we remember. Austin, we did the spreadsheet, and we're like, wow, this team is loaded.
Yep.
A lot of those guys are not on this roster right now at the moment.
Oh.
So yeah, Pierce Johnson is injured. Adrian Morejon is injured. Drew Pomerantz is injured. Craig Stammen is injured. Robert Suarez, everybody's favorite. I think it was him, right? He was supposed to be the closer up before Taylor Rogers got in. Unless
Yep.
he was one of the guys. It was supposed to be like him and what was the guy? Luis Garcia.
Okay.
The other Luis Garcia.
Another Luis Garcia, yeah. There's like 3 of them already. Astros, Nationals, and now the Padres. Nelson Lamet is finally up and running. He's only pitched 8 in the 3rd inning.
I was just looking at that, but I was looking at his game log, and I'm not sure. Yeah, he has not pitched since May the 9th.
Well, he's on the roster, major league roster now, is what I was trying to.
He was recalled yesterday.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a weird team. They don't have all their pieces, all their big pieces here, especially the bigger piece being Fernando Tatis. But they're just finding ways to win with solid pitching and Manny Machado when he's healthy, carrying the load. So move quickly to the Giants now. Giants. We talk about it every single week. Austin and Sean, basically the Tampa Bay Rays of the West. But with 30-year-olds, 35-year-olds, 33-year-olds, it's an older team, but they get the job done. Sean, what can you tell me about the Giants that we don't know about?
Jock Peterson's an all-star?
That is so weird.
And the team leader in WAR is Austin Slater.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Yeah, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys between 1 and 1.54. Just kind of, they're doing the Rays thing, platoon. Yeah. Put guys in the best chances. Luis Gonzalez has kind of had a breakout after being, a top 10 guy in the White Sox system. Him and Lamont Wade Jr. have gone back and forth as they've both dealt with injuries. Joey Bart has fallen flat on his face yet again. Yermin Mercedes is a Giant. I guess that's the fun part of the offense for the Giants.
Jock Peterson has already hit as many home runs as he did last year and almost as much RBI, and already has stolen more bases and only 250 plate appearances. Yeah,
I mean, Jock Peterson was really bad to start the year last year. Mm-hmm. And then when he got traded, he took off. It was the same thing with Rosario and Duvall. Neither of them were having good years until really they got traded. Duvall was leading in RBIs, but that's neither here nor there. But Jock, I was a little worried about him going to San Francisco, but he's making it work.
It's amazing it's amazing how some of these teams can turn they can find these diamonds in the rough for to use that idiom there. It's diamonds in the rough, and they just maximize their value as much. That's why I was telling Jet in the other chat for the American League. We were talking about Chris Archer. He thought Chris Archer's career was done. And like, hey, the Twins just do a really good job of maximizing everybody's talent, no matter how low their talent is. And I think you could say the same thing about the Giants. I mean, that's really what separates the bad teams from the good teams, is what we're seeing here. Austin, you want to talk anybody in particular, any player in particular on the pitching side of things?
It was funny because I just watched the Giants out in Fenway, or not Fenway. I just watched the Giants out in Arizona, and I want to talk about Camilo Doval. So Camilo Doval, the rookie closing pitcher for the Giants, he's done really well this season. He's collected saves and, has done well in the back end, but it seems like in the past week or so, he has all of a sudden fallen on his face and has not done very well. And I haven't watched a whole lot of Giants games, so I don't know if this is his biggest problem or not, but he's got 101 mile an hour cutter. Like he throws a cutter at 101 miles an hour. But we were at when we went to the game, he was up for the save. Giants were in good position to get the save. He walked the bases loaded and he threw nothing but sliders.
Oof.
He didn't throw any cutter. I think he threw 2 cutters to 4 batters, walked the bases loaded, and all he threw literally were sliders. And Corey Decker and I kept looking at each other like, why is he throwing sliders? He threw I'm not kidding you, he must have thrown 8 sliders in a row.
He throws the slider 55% of the time, and it performs much better than his cutter. His cutter does have all that velo, but it gets spanked around. They're batting .366, despite him averaging 99.1 miles an hour on that cutter. Batting .366 against it, .707 slug. But the slider is really just the best pitch. I mean, they're doing nothing with it, batting .154, 38%, 38.5% whiff on the slider.
Well, slider wasn't working that night. I mean, he got credited with the hold because then they threw in another pitcher after that. I don't remember, but they threw in another pitcher after that, and he ended up getting him out of the jam on what I thought was a terrible managerial decision from Torey Lavulo. But that's another story for another time. But yeah, I mean, Camilo Doval has had a great season so far, but I know he's given up a number of runs in the past few games. So, maybe this is his rookie wall he's hitting, or, maybe he just had a bad stretch. We'll see what happens, but Camilo Doval will be interesting to watch as the season goes on.
I don't trust him in the closer's role. He's always been a shoddy command guy. And I mean, last year in the major leagues, when he came up and took over the closer role from Jake McGee, I mean, at the major league level, he posted the lowest walks per 9. He had it lower than any level in the minor leagues. This year, it's at 404, which is also pretty low based on his standards. He was always like a 4.5, 5 guy. I had a couple of years where he was like 6, 7. But he's the guy right now. But I don't think they seem more of like a committee save team in terms of stuff like that.
We move to the Diamondbacks. That's always an interesting team to watch. They now have some of their top name prospects up and running. We talked about Dalton Varsho all the time. Alec Thomas is up, who we mentioned is a Rookie of the Year candidate. A distant Rookie of the Year candidate, but nonetheless still in the picture there. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of guys who are kind of old, 28 years and over. Ketel Marte, Josh Rojas, Christian Walker is 31 years old, just hitting home runs and nothing else. Carson Kelly and all those guys. Madison Bumgarner is long in the tooth as well. I mean, Sean, what can you tell me about the Diamondbacks? Is there anybody else we need to talk about on this team?
I mean, I kind of see a vision for them because what they've done this year is they chase, I think, the least out of any team in baseball. They don't swing out of the strike zone. It just hasn't equated to doing damage on pitches in the strike zone. They've had a couple of guys underperform. Christian Walker has hit the hell out of the ball, but the results really haven't been there to show for it. Josh Rojas has, dealt with some injuries, but come back and hit pretty well. I'm interested to see, Alec Thomas play a full year. I think the National League Rookie of the Year is up for grabs, and he could very well take it. Corbin Carroll, if he gets the call this year, there are a lot of people who think Corbin Carroll is going to be even better than Alec Thomas. Is Seth Beer makes it back to the major league roster. He's been in the minors since being demoted in late April. The bullpen's actually been kind of cool. I mean, the Joe Mance applied out of nowhere, having a great relief season. Mark Melanson being the bane of my existence. I say every year Mark Melanson's just going to fall apart. And he is at a 5 ERA now. So maybe finally, after 5 years of saying Mark Melanson's done, maybe I'm going to be right one of these days.
One of these days.
But, I mean, they're an interesting team. They're, like you said, they're a little on the older side, but I think that they're guys, I mean, Rojas, Thomas, Marte, Varsho, like that's a core right there. Carson Kelly, and they're not like crazy old. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Because I think
Corbin, I was going to say you still got Corbin Carroll waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
So it's not a Corbin Martin also waiting in the wings, and as a pitcher, Dre Jameson also waiting on the wings. So yeah, man, we've yet to scratch the surface of a real Diamondbacks rebuild. Just we're not there yet, but we're starting to see some guys finally, little by little, show up.
And it seems offensively they have like a vision, like that we're gonna be a selective team, a patient team, and they kind of have the athleticism where they're not just like the guys that 3 true outcomes. They're not walk, home run, strike out. They got a good amount of team speed. Rojas, Thomas, Carroll, all guys that run really well. Dalton Varsho runs well. So they could really, if they start walking a lot and they start, just hitting average with the team speed, I think they could put pressure on some teams in the next few years.
And Austin, buy or sell Zach Gallen, future ace of this Diamondbacks team.
Buy.
Oh, look at that. You're not worried about the arm history there, the arm injuries that he had before?
I mean, he does have a history, but what good pitcher nowadays doesn't have a history of arm issues?
That's true. Yeah.
I think he has a good of a shot to continue to be the ace of the Diamondbacks, as any team has a shot to be an ace of any team. So I would buy on Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen's a good piece. Alec Thomas, he's 3rd or 4th in rookie rankings in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He's doing really well. Christian Walker is an anomaly to me. He's batting a 208 batting average, but is 3rd in the National League in home runs. He's hitting for power. The Diamondbacks have got good pieces. It's just they just need to start putting it together. Mark Melanson, it was so funny. Again, when I saw him in Arizona, it was a tight game against the Rockies. They were tied going into the 8th, and Melanson came in to pitch in the 8th. And I turned to my dad and I said, "Watch, 2 batters, Melanson loses it for the team." He goes, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." Sure enough, 2 doubles. I was like, I told you, Melanson's going to lose it. So I think Melanson is done.
Yeah.
But you have pitchers in Mantiply. Mantiply is the one that I can think of right now. He's doing really well out of that bullpen. I was impressed with some of the Diamondback players, watching them live. And so I think there are good things to come for the Diamondbacks in the next couple of years.
Well, you talk about it already. This next team, 26th in WRC plus, 27th in starting pitching ERA, and 28th in bullpen K per 9. Now, if this were the Orioles, people would be super happy about that. But no, it's not the Orioles. It's the Colorado Rockies. The Colorado Rockies are currently sitting at 37-48. Wait a minute, 37-48. That's only what? That's only 5 games away from the Orioles.
That's basically where the Tigers are right now.
No. They're 5 games away from the Orioles, though. Why are we celebrating? Maybe the Rockies are supposed to be better than this. Maybe the Rockies are supposed to make the playoffs. Maybe the Rockies can make they'd be great if they were in the AL Central, right? Where's the Rocky celebration? I want my Rocky celebration right now, so we're gonna celebrate them right now. But we all picked them to be dead last. So far, they are dead last. The podcast got it right. But yeah. Oh no! Don't huff at me now. If I find out that this is basically the Orioles, except that the Orioles are luckier, I'm gonna scream. Okay, well, maybe I shouldn't because I think the baby's trying to fall asleep. So, but you know, I mean, this team, this franchise, we've talked about it time and time again. They basically took away the title from the Orioles as the worst run franchise in all of baseball, because now suddenly the Orioles are everybody's favorite darling Cinderella story right now. But the Rockies have, for a good reason, have taken over that. They do have some guys like Connor Joe. Even Chris Bryant has had a really decent season, but he's hurt all the time.
He just hit his first major league first home run as a Rocky like earlier this week, and then he had 3 more right after it. So
he has 4 total now.
Yeah, he was 4 total after not having one until July something. It was like July 7th, I think. He had his first one. He's locked in there long term. It'll be interesting to see if they trade CJ Crone or someone like Jonathan Daza. Ryan McMahon's locked in there long term. Chris Bryant's there long term. Herman Marquez, terrible this year. But he was a guy that could have fetched them legitimate top 100 prospects last year. And now he's a guy that I wonder if they just trade him just to see what they can get. But they definitely, once again, missed the ball. Typical Rockies. But Herman Marquez, I think, would be a really interesting piece if he does get traded, just to finally get out of Coors Field.
Yeah, and maybe we could see a resurgence to his career, like we've seen with Jonathan Gray in Texas.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, the lineup's always going to be good because for obvious reasons, right? The thin air. Daniel Bard is another interesting trade commodity that they can try to do. As there's a lot of holes in his game, but it's well hidden because of the fact that the first thing that people see are 17 saves. Oh man, he must be really good. Or the 38 strikeouts in 31 innings. Oh man, he must be really good. But what's not seen is that he has a very terrible walk rate.
In a 205 BABIP in Coors. How is that even possible?
That can't be real. That can't be real.
205 in 31 and 2/3 innings, 205 BABIP, 2.27 ERA. The strikeout rate is nice, but like you said, the command has always been sketchy to say the least.
Austin, is there one player you want to talk about here with the Rockies? Just one player.
I mean, I just watched the Rockies. Wasn't really too impressed by very many of them. Connor Joe seems to be, I think, the guy that maybe they will center their team around besides Chris Bryant. I've always kind of liked Connor Joe. I've seen him play live a few times now. But apart from just liking Connor Joe, there really isn't much else. I mean, CJ Crone is good. I've always liked CJ Crone, but like I said, there really isn't much for me to talk about when it comes to the Rockies. I mean, on the Round Trippers podcast, the last trade deadline, I went on a whole rant about how the Rockies are probably the worst run franchise. I mean, apart from even the Pirates, I mean, I feel like they have flubbed so many trades.
Yeah.
So many different opportunities to get better. They fall on their face and they don't. So they have a long road ahead of them. Apart from the, much different from the Diamondbacks, I don't see the Rockies getting much better. I mean, right now their best player is CJ Crone and Charlie Blackmon. Like that's pretty much. And Charlie Blackmon is 36.
Yeah.
So
Connor Joe's 30 years old. He just told me he's a centerpiece for the future. Like,
I'm not sure if you guys saw the post in Baseball Life of Colton Walker, former I think he was a top 100 guy. Well, he was claimed on waivers by the Giants.
Wow.
The Rockies actually DFA'd him. He had tested positive for steroids last year in May or June. Had finished serving his suspension and was hurt. And somebody made the post in Baseball Life that the Rockies DFA'd him so they wouldn't have to put him on the Major League IL. Because if they put him on the Major League IL, they would have to pay him the prorated portion of the Major League minimum. So they had him originally on the minor league IL. But it was super weird. But they're trying to basically say that the Rockies DFA'd Welker because they didn't want to pay him the prorated Major League minimum.
Wow.
Which seems plausible, but at the same time, you got busted for steroids. You haven't really done much. But he is, a former top 100 guy.
Yeah.
Was a 60 grade hit tool on Fangraphs. Had a couple of really good hitting years in the minor leagues, more so in the low minors and the high minors, but we'll see. He's now with a division rival after the Rockies just kind of cut bait.
Well, speaking of, I would be remiss. I would be killing myself. Well, that's no, I don't want to do that. I would be kicking myself. Sorry, kicking myself if I didn't mention this guy. Former highly touted prospect for your Seattle Mariners, former first round pick, DJ Peterson is on this team as well. So
DJ Peterson. Why does that name sound so familiar?
Was
he like a big hulking like?
Maybe, but he was supposed to be the third baseman of the future for the Mariners. Colton Walker too, right? Wasn't he a corner infield prospect?
Yeah, Walker was the third base.
Yeah. So they replaced him with DJ Peterson apparently in AAA. DJ Peterson, 6'1", 210. So he wasn't that big, but he was supposed to be. He was supposed to be a great prospect for the Mariners. First round pick, 12th overall in the 2013 amateur draft. So yeah. So it's kind of funny. Like these 2013 prospects are just coming back to haunt me. All right, let's move over to the National League Central. Everybody had the Brewers finishing in first and the Cardinals finishing in second. As of right now, it's the Brewers in first and the Cardinals in second. But we just talked. The Cardinals are loaded, man. Cardinals are loaded on offense. It's the pitching that's always worrisome, which the Brewers always seem to do a good job of finding and developing and just putting in guys and stuff. And right now, Brewers are at a 5.3% to win the World Series, and the Cardinals are only at 1%. So, who's going to talk there? Sean, was that you?
No, you guys go ahead.
Oh, well, I don't know. Well, let me ask Austin, since I always go to Sean first anyway. Austin, as it stands right now, who would you put your money on to win the World Series between these two teams? Just these two teams. I don't care about anybody else's. Who would you put your money on right now to win the World Series? Wow.
I pick Brewers. So
wow.
We because when it comes time for the playoffs, great pitching beats great hitting the majority of the time. And even with no Brandon Woodruff and Freddie Peralta on the IL, I still think the pitching of Milwaukee carries the day.
I agree that good pitching wins championships, but they both have good pitching. They both have good pitching. And I think honestly, what separates those two teams is the Cardinals' offense is way better. You know, and the old adage, you can't win if you can't score any runs. And Brewers, their problem is still their offense. So that offense in St. Louis is so much better than the Brewers is. I feel like even though I picked the Brewers to win the division, and I still feel like the Brewers will win the division, once the Cardinals get into playoffs, it's going to be tough to beat them.
The Cardinals, if they were to start a playoff series today, their first three pitchers that the opposing team would have to face: Miles Mikolas, Adam Wainwright, and Dakota Hudson.
Yeah, there's a certain
that does not make me feel warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah, that's 3 pitch to contact pitchers right there on the spot. Really quick. So according to the WRC Plus numbers right now, Brewers are in 12th place, surprisingly. Cardinals are in 10th, despite the fact that they have 3 MVP candidates on there, according to Fangraphs WAR. Starting pitching ERA, right? Starting pitching ERA, yeah. Brewers are 14th. The Cardinals are somewhere in the 17th. So far, it's not. They're kind of neck and neck. Where it really hits the fan for the Cardinals is the bullpen. Cardinals are 27th in strikeout per 9 innings, and the Brewers are 7th for obvious reasons. Josh Hader, Devin Williams, and all those other guys. So maybe it's the bullpen that is gonna be the difference maker for the Brewers for the rest of the season, and maybe even the playoffs. Because starting pitching may not be scary, for some people. Sean just mentioned a couple guys who are injured, although I think Woodruff is back. Did he get hurt again?
I know he was out. I'm not sure if he had come back. Okay, so he did have a no decision. How many starts has he had? Okay, so he came back on June 28th. So he's made 3 starts.
That's what I thought. Yeah, he had 3 dominant starts. Well, I don't know about the last start.
I mean, his last was a quality start. 9 strikeouts, 6 innings, 3 earned runs.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be enough for me to get the win this week. I can tell you how much. I hate this freaking league, but it's the points league. Austin is what I'm referring to. I'm going to lose to the worst team in the league. By the way, I hate this league. Well, I was supposed to get Mitch White to get 2 starts, and then Dave Roberts said, "No, we're not doing that anymore." So That's what I get for counting on a 2-start pitcher that is not really a 2-start pitcher. Anyway, what was I talking about? The Brewers.
The Brewers.
Oh yeah, the Brewers. So the Brewers are going to be it's the bullpen that is going to be the big difference maker. And yeah, that's the one thing that always holds back the Cardinals, because on paper they have the big names and the big bats and all that. But it's always the pitching that always leaves me scratching my head and not knowing what to make of it. And it turns out the numbers agree with my thought process in that regard. So over to the third place team, everybody picked the Cubs except for me. I picked the Reds. I talked a little bit about the Cubs in the last episode when we talked about the I don't even know how the hell did we talk? Oh, because you guys were trying to figure out why I was so angry. But the Cubs, I see this. I cannot believe Cub fans are talking about this team like any of this matters. Every week. I mean, there's a private chat with me and some of the other Cub fans, and they're just kind of like, oh man, if this guy can do something, that he'd be really good. Oh,
No.
once again, our offense is letting us down. Well, yeah, they're letting us down because they suck. It's just awful. I mean, Patrick Wisdom. I see kids wearing Wisdom jerseys. Like, what is this? Is that something? Is that because that's their favorite adjective, or
is that what the cool kids do now?
They're full of wisdom. Is it because they're getting ready for their teeth in the future? It's really just about Christopher Morel. He's 23 years old, and we, for every boom that he gives you, he's going to be busting everywhere else, right? Because he's not a very consistent hitter. I don't know. It's just a team full of guys who should be all traded away, and I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of it wrong, but I just see a bunch of players who are not going to be here when the team gets good again.
I find it's just hilarious that the actual third place team in this division right now is the Pittsburgh Pirates, who we all had finished last except Henry.
Yeah. Henry had him finishing in fourth, the Reds in fifth. Well, before we move on to those other two teams really quick, Austin, do you have anything to share about the Cubs that we need to know about?
No, I think we all know that they're bad.
Marcus Stroman is back. Yay.
Yay.
Hashtag built different.
Like, they do have some interesting names on their bullpen as well. David Robertson, Michael Givens, Chris Martin, Scott Effers. I think that's the reason why they've just been kind of just sitting around, right? Just lurking around with the 34-51 record. And
yeah, I think with the Cubs, the only thing of like note is who they get when they trade Wilson Contreras, David Robertson. Because really, it's not just David Robertson in that bullpen that they could trade. Chris Martin, Michael Givens, I think, are all guys that will have markets at the deadline. Yeah. And those middle relief, late inning guys, they always bring back more than you think.
Yeah.
And I think depending on how well they do in those trades, could be, a little bit of a light on a dark season.
And the reason I picked the Reds to finish ahead of the Cubs in this division is because the Reds, to me, they look younger. They had, even though they traded away all their best players, it seemed like they still had some guys with some upside as well, especially on the pitching side of things. I love the Reds rotation over the Cubs rotation. I can tell you that much. And of course, just to make me look bad, they went on a 14-game losing streak to start the season or something.
Yeah, craziness. I mean, it was really like that first month. Yeah. They were like horrid. And since, I think in May and June, they were bad, but they weren't like the worst. So I think over a full season, depending on what moves they make, it could kind of balance it out where I don't think they'll be in last place. I still think it'll be the Cubs with the Pirates.
Yeah. So I can still hear Cubs fan goes, okay, well, the Reds also have a bunch of 30-year-olds. Yeah, but at least they have one guy in Jonathan India who we have not seen fully healthy just yet. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead.
I think that was a big hit to the Reds is when India went down. Because, we all know that Joey Votto is a slow starter. I mean, it's a given. He's gonna start slow. But India, I think, was the guy they were like, okay, this is our guy. This is the dude that's gonna head our offense. And he went down early. And they've been really bad. And now he's still not quite healthy. He's still trying to get into the swing of things. And so he just has not had a good season. So when the players that I think anyway, they were relying on as their cornerstone pieces go down early in the season, it's tough to bounce back.
Yeah. I mean, not only India too, but Stevenson's missed time.
Yeah.
And Votto missed time and has just been kind of ineffective. When Brandon Jury is your best player,
Yeah.
You're having some issues. I mean, I guess another plus that you could find in this Red season is Nick Senzel's been relatively healthy. He hasn't been very good, but he's been okay.
He'll show up in spurts. He'll show up.
Yeah, and I still think he's a guy that could be a good player. I mean, this is his age 27 season. It's kind of time to do or die here, but
yeah.
I think there's still something to say about Nick Senzel, and yeah, that's the Reds.
Yeah, and like the other, again, picking the Reds over the Cubs, their rotation, I still believe in Luis Castillo. I still think Hunter Green alone is worth the price of admission. And then you still got Tyler Mahle, who, yeah, he might get traded, but in the meantime, he's still on the team. So therefore, he's that trio makes for a more intriguing rotation than anything the Cubs can throw at us at this point. So that was my thinking, but that's not what's going on. The Reds are in dead last as of right now. Go ahead.
Oh, I just think with Hunter Green, it's so weird how he's had some starts where, he doesn't allow anything. And then other starts, I mean, he's got a 5.7 ERA. I mean, it's not good. And the FIP, he's got a 5.4 FIP. He just gives up so many home runs. And when you look at his time in the minors, like he was a sub-1 guy in 2017, 2018, and in AA in 2021. Now, when he got to AAA, that home run per nine spiked to 1.5. And this year at the major league level, it's 2.32. And yes, it's Great American Ballpark. But I mean, the home run to fly ball is high. It's 19 and a half. I mean, I remember when that was kind of like above average, but with the kind of dead end balls and the humidors, that's kind of a so-so home run per nine. It's just the ground ball percentage tanked. You cannot have a 27% ground ball rate in Great American Ballpark. And Hunter Green was a guy that was always about 40, 42, 45%. And he has not been even close to that in Cincinnati. So until he can fix that, I'm kind of out on Hunter Green. I have him in a few leagues where I just built rotations out of who can throw the hardest. But I'm worried about Green, honestly.
Yeah, I've given up on Green as well.
Because I think he's more thrower than pitcher. And I don't throw that around because people used to throw it around with Syndergaard. Yeah. But with Green, with the lack of a third pitch, I'm thinking bullpen. Like that's
not why you drafted him.
I know and I know they won't do it, but I'm thinking bullpen.
Well, I'm gonna give him a pass this year because this is his first year coming back from Tommy John surgery. So we'll see what happens in next year or later on this year because he does show spurts where
he threw 100. He threw 100 innings last year in the minors. He missed 19 and 20.
Oh, okay. Well, in his first full season of Major League Baseball. The players are built differently in the big leagues here. Let's go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just with no third pitch. It worries me with no third pitch.
Well, we've seen guys with two pitches be dominant. Like, I don't know, Spencer Strider. If he can be like Spencer Strider, that'd be great for him. But anyway,
but how long will that continue to happen?
Forever. No, I'm joking. Well, let's get to the Braves and we'll talk about it some more. And meanwhile, the Pirates, really quick. Ke'Bryan Hayes. Everybody's excited about Ke'Bryan Hayes. I don't know why. He doesn't hit for power at a premium power hitting position. Not even get on base. So, but that's causing Pirate fans some good feeling right now that Ke'Bryan Hayes is locked up for a long term and that he's on the team. And happy days are here again for the Pirates. Brian Reynolds is finally playing up to speed. 15 home runs and pretty good ops. Everybody talking about Jack Sawinski. Every time I look at Jack Sawinski,
he's kind of like one of those Statcast darlings. Strikes out too much, but he's really like hard hit rates in the minors too, kind of under the hood stuff. He just hits the hell out of the ball.
All right. Well, it's not translating to production. I mean, it is in slugging percentage.
I mean, 14 home runs and 212 at bats. So that's something.
All right. You're right, Mountcastle. Congratulations, kid. 24 years old, soon to be 24-year-old over there. Who else? And then, of course, the big name that is worth talking about is O'Neal Cruz. He's been the talk of the town, despite the fact that he is only hitting $1.97 with a 227 on base percentage. But this is just the beginning of things to come. I mean, Henry, you heard him on the podcast and in April, and also this past week, he wants to see him in the home run derby. Damn it. So yeah, Christian Walker and O'Neal Cruz in the home run derby. Is that something you guys want to watch this year?
O'Neal Cruz,
Uh,
I wouldn't mind seeing, but
what,
I don't know.
who's the other name?
Christian
Christian
Walker
Walker.
Oh,
leads the league in home runs, don't he?
I really want to. No, he doesn't know.
He's
Kyle
third.
Schwarber. Kyle
Third.
Schwarber leads the National League.
Third,
Yeah.
league leader among home runs is what I was trying to say. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. But it's like, I guess Cruz in the home run derby would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in real life, I question the hit tool. I'm not as high on him as everybody else. I think a lot of people think he's going to be some great. He strikes out too much.
You'd
I
be proud.
traded him in my points league for Kyle Wright.
I was just about to mention that.
Oh, you did end up trading him.
I traded him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you got Kyle Wright?
I got Kyle Wright and a draft pick for it.
Okay, that's not bad.
No, that's
I mean,
really good.
I'm not a huge fan of Kyle Wright, but like with the season Kyle Wright's having this year, that's not a bad trade.
That I was like, I'll
and he's
get
only
rid of-
26.
Yeah, I'll trade away O'Neal Cruz for a pitcher that'll help me win right now. Kyle Wright is not going to help me win in the future, but
yeah, but that's why you traded for that. You also got a higher round pick, didn't you?
yeah.
Yeah, so he improved his we do draft pick, so I guess he gave up a lower. Yeah, this is something that we talked about in private, Austin and I, and like, well, if you like O'Neal Cruz that much, then you just sit back and just wait it out. If you want to compete this year, your best move might be to get as much as you can right now, because he's a hot commodity right now. But it's like a car, right? It's like when you buy a car, as soon as that car leaves the lot. As soon as O'Neal Cruz gets called up, the value just starts dropping precipitously.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad I traded him when I did, because now he's back in 197. So I'm sure his value is dropped. Even
O'Neal Cruz is a long-term play. If you are willing to commit to the growing pains, then you do whatever it takes. It's Jared Klenick all over again.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at it as 6'7". Like in the power that he has and just the athleticism for someone his size, everyone's like, I just got the next Aaron Judge, and I worry that it's just not gonna get there. I mean, because even in the minors, like he was a so hitter as he. I mean, he always hit the ball hard, but it never translated into like crazy numbers. So.
Yeah, and well, the rest of it, the bench sucks for this team. The pitching is every once in a while they'll come up and they'll give you a good start. Like Jose Quintana is having a resurgent season, so to speak. I don't trust him. It's bad. David Bednar has shown that he's a good, although he's been struggling a lot lately. I want to blame a bad back on that.
There was something that, and I think he got rode hard. He had like a couple of those outings where he went 2 1/3, and then he was off for 2 days, and then he went and did it again. I feel like they're just kind of riding him into the ground
because they can't trust anybody else. I mean, Will Crow's having a decent season, but Chris Stratton is kind of. I mean, they were supposed to go with a committee in the 9th inning with Chris Stratton and David Bednar, and now they're just leaning on David Bednar for everything. Yeah, which. I mean, anyway, but yeah, Pirate fans are finally excited about something, but I'm like, yeah, but it's a lot of things that could be better. And you already, so you had Ronci Contreras on the team, and he's already been demoted.
Yeah. I think they're kind of playing it was like a fresh arm thing. He's made, I think, a good amount of starts like consecutively.
Yeah, I mean that's the case, but still, it's just I don't know. The optics are not there for me in terms of why is one of your prize prospects on the minor leagues, and maybe it's common, right? Maybe like that's a new era of baseball that maybe I'm still not used to it, but still, even when he was up, I mean, he was still giving up a lot of walks, and the expected ERA was at 5.59.
Yeah,
4.88 FIP. So it's a work in progress there. All right, so that's the Pirates. Let's move on to a really good division. And as you can see, the National League East, Austin and Sean picked the Mets. Henry, Vince, and Felipe picked the Braves. We talked about it already with James the last time we were on the air, and we went really deep for those two teams. But let's start alphabetical order. I guess the Braves, Atlanta Braves. Start talking about them. They are currently in second place. They were really behind the 8 ball to start the season, but they've I mean, you saw that they went on a 15-16 game, something crazy.
Yeah.
Just a lot of on a big time winning streak. Now they're maybe 2 games behind. Is that what it is?
It's still at 2.5.
Two and a half,
2.5.
got it.
Yeah.
And the craziest part is, even though the Mets are in the lead, it seems like the Braves, every time they get closer to the Mets, their chances of increase to win the World Series over the Fangraphs. So now they're at 14.5%. The Mets are at 11.8%. So with that being said, the Braves, what do you think helped? Is it just something as simple as Ronald Acuna coming back, and that just was the big difference maker there, Sean?
Well, I mean, that was always going to be a huge piece for him. But even then, he's had, kind of a lot of stop and starts where, it's like the leg, the groin, and they've been very cautious with him. I mean, still only played in 52 games, and he'll play a couple of games, then he sits for 3 days. But I think the influx of Dansby Swanson having just a career year, but also Michael Harris and Spencer Strider stepping into, major contributing roles. Spencer Strider has been, obviously, he's just been elite, but I'm not sure if he's a starter. I think they're kind of forced to use him as a starter now. I think he would be even better in the bullpen. I think he would be like Josh Hader type levels in the bullpen.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that, man.
Charlie. I mean, I know everything with Strider, but I feel like he's more bullpen, and Ian Anderson's had a step back. It's Charlie Morton's kind of leveled off. He started off terribly.
It's basically how I always envision the Braves starting pitching to be. They're just. I want to be careful because you cannot poo-poo a championship caliber rotation like that. Because for better or for worse, they won the championship, therefore they're championship caliber. But there's a lot of things that I don't like about this rotation, and it starts with Max Fried, it continues with Charlie Morton and Ian Anderson, and it just seems like they're getting exposed for all the shortcomings that I had always envisioned of those guys. But they somehow make it work. And you mentioned Spencer Strider and all
Kyle Wright was like bad for a while.
Oh yeah.
And now he's all of a sudden all-star. It's a weird, and it's like Max Fried, I always thought kind of overperformed his first couple of years. And he's legit. I mean, he doesn't walk guys, he keeps the ball on the ground. The strikeouts are so. But I've kind of admitting I'm wrong on Fried a little bit, but Ian Anderson was the guy, because it seems that whenever these Braves pitchers have taken a step forward, sooner or later the other foot drops and they kind of come back to earth. And that was kind of what we've seen with Anderson. And I'm kind of worried that it might happen to Wright or Strider. And if it happens at the wrong time, like mid-season, that could really throw what's his name? Huascar Ynoa.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he was supposed to be a guy in that rotation after last year, and he can't throw strikes.
Yeah.
And in the back end of the bullpen, I do.
Hey, man. Hey, leave that bullpen alone. It's fantastic. All right.
AJ Minter all of a sudden has great command. Like I'm like, they're doing good, but I'm skeptical.
And that bullpen's pretty legit, though. I've always liked their bullpen for a while now, and that's pretty much the reason why I picked the Braves over the Mets, just because I like their bullpen just a little bit more than the Mets. And it's supposed to be a tight race between those two teams. But I mean, yeah, I get it. Minter's always struggled with the control, but he's always shown promise that he could be a dominant.
He's always had like the lights out stuff. I worry about the command. I think he's overperformed. I think Colin McHugh has underperformed. I really like McHugh. And then Will Smith is still Will Smith.
So let me ask Austin this then. Okay, so if Sean doesn't believe in Spencer Strider and he believes that he's going to get exposed soon because he's just a 2-pitch pitcher, who do we trust from their minor leagues to step up? I mean, Kyle Moeller, Tucker Davidson, Huascar Ynoa, Austin, what do you got for me?
I haven't looked much at the minor league system for Atlanta, so I'm not entirely sure what they have down there. But what they need is somebody who in terms of pitching who can help with their strikeouts and lessen their walks, because right now they are not striking out enough people. You have Max Fried at 8.39 K per nine. You got Kyle Wright at 9. You have Ian Anderson at 7.64. Tucker Davidson's at 5.68. You only have Spencer Strider and Charlie Morton who are above 10 Ks per nine. But then you look at walks per nine. Kyle Wright, 2.88. You got Spencer Strider, 3.05. Charlie Morton, 3.26. Ian Anderson, 4.2. Tucker Davidson's at 7.8. Like it's just way too many walks. You need somebody that'll strike them out, or strike people out and or limit the walks, because I think that's the biggest problem with the starters. And then the bullpen. It just seems like the bullpen is letting in too many runs. You got a higher K per nine, lower walk, but I'm seeing a lot of 3s in terms of ERA, and that's not what I want to see in my bullpen. I want to see 2s, 1s. That's what I want to see in my bullpen. I want to see a shutdown.
They all can't be the Yankees, man. Come on.
Yeah.
They all can't be the Yankees.
Well, the Braves, it's actually, if you look at the top 3 teams, or really 5 teams in strikeout percentage for pitchers, the Braves are number 1 at 25.6. Then
really?
the Mets and
seem like it.
Yeah, then the Mets and Brewers are at 25.4, Yankees at 25, and Dodgers at 24.8.
No, I always like the Braves bullpen, man. It's just something about them.
And I'm worried about. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. In one of my leagues, I went out and I spent 300 fab. I spent 150 on Mincer and 150 on Will Smith when Kenley Jansen went down, because they say Kenley Jansen should be back soon. But I like terribly needed saves, and I do like Minter stuff. I've always liked Minter stuff. I worry about the command, and that it could all come down. And I like Strider. I really do. I think he has a good changeup. He just doesn't throw it enough. Mm-hmm. And I worry about guys that throw 70% fastball. I mean, he has an elite slider too, but sooner or later, even with great velo, major league hitters can time up a fastball. They can do it.
Well, I remember when Austin and I were doing the research in the offseason, that is a name that showed up as someone very, 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 very late in drafts and for fantasy baseball. Spencer Strider, I mean, that we needed to keep an eye on. And sure enough, it's finally coming to fruition as a starting pitcher, because there is concern there, but you cannot diss the results too much. It's been working for them. It's a joy to watch him pitch. It really is. And now they're turning him to Mike. What's his name? Was it Matt Harvey? Mike Harvey? No, Mike Harvey's our guy in Washington. Matt Harvey is a former Mets pitcher. And now they're doing Spencer Strider days over there.
Oh, are they? Oh, with like the mustache, I bet.
Yeah. The mustache is zoned in on those telecasts. Like, it's Spencer Strider day.
Also, did you guys see yesterday? Keith Hernandez retired. Pete Alonso. Actually, he did full-on stirrups like Keith used to do, and he shaved his facial hair to do a mustache and sideburns. And I was like, and then he ended up hitting a home run too. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. There were fans out there with like fake mustaches for Keith. It was really cool.
Well, let's talk about it. So I'll go up to the Mets now. The Mets, as I told James that the Mets have been one of my favorite teams in the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, maybe. And it's just disappointing that they can't do anything about it, because I've always liked the roster. It doesn't translate to playoff wins or even championships. But this is probably one of the best Mets. This is even better Mets teams than I've seen in a long time. And that's with Max Scherzer missing a lot of the season and Jacob deGrom not knowing if he's going to play or not. And apparently now he might not sign an extension with the Mets anyway. So,
I mean, he said during spring training, both before he was hurt and after his injury, that his plan all along was to opt out of the deal, which he has a player opt out. That I think the second Max Scherzer signed for $43 million at his age, and the fact that he had dead arm at the end of the year and still got $43 million, DeGrom saw that. Some team will give DeGrom that money. Could be the Mets. The Mets could give him $40 million over 3 years or 5 years. I mean,
we have a Charlie Morton situation with him then, because he'll be 35 next year. So if you're going to give him that big a contract, then you better hope that he becomes like Charlie Morton at this advanced age of his life, right? And is able to throw hard consistently and strike out guys consistently. That is what you're betting on if you're going to give Jacob deGrom all that money. No. Do you believe that he could still be that guy with all the stop and go because of injuries there?
Yeah,
Sean?
I mean, the elbow was what had me most worried last year. The fact that they shut it down over the elbow, and he came back in spring training, elbow felt fine, was pitching, and it wasn't. Hasn't been out because of an elbow this year. It was a scapular stress reaction, which is like just the precursor to a stress fracture. So, and it's kind of a rare injury for pitchers, and the only thing you can do is just wait it out. And
That's what
basically,
they're doing.
yeah. Well, he's already made 2 rehab starts, and in those 2 rehab starts, it's kind of funny just looking at the numbers. He did give up 3 hits to some guys in A-ball, and everyone was like, "Oh God, what's happening?" But he has struck out 61% of the batters he's faced, hasn't given up a walk. He was consistently hitting 99 to 101. Slider was up to 94. Elbow feels fine. He actually said it feels great. So
Sounds like Jacob deGrom when I play against him on MLB The Show.
and that's what a lot of people said was last year when he was made one of those rehab starts. They asked the Palm Beach Cardinals players, "How do you what do you even do for this?" They're like, "We went and we played against him in MLB The Show."
Well, isn't that what Lucas Giolito did to kind of turn his career around from going from prospect to Son Young candidate? Is like he started playing video games and playing himself and trying to see what he can do to tinker his mechanics.
I know he's a big gamer. I don't know about that.
No, I think I saw a story that was one of the things that he did was play video games, baseball video games. He would play as himself, and that's one of the things that he did to kind of improve his game. Not working this year, but that's what he did. Austin, I got to ask, you picked the Mets to win the division. As it stands right now, with half a season left to go, are you still going to go that route, or do you think something different is going to happen now?
I'm confident that the Mets will win the division. They have, their pitchers coming back that were injured, and then they definitely have a better offense than they did last year. I'm still confident that the Mets take this division. I don't think they'll collapse as much as they did last year. I remember at this point in time, we were talking about the Mets were only in first because the rest of the division was really bad.
Yeah.
And I feel like this year it's different. They're leading this division because they like play like a division leader. So I think the Mets are going to take the NL East, but the Braves are going to have something to say about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And unlike last year the pitching was holding on. That was the only reason they were in first place last year. The division was playing poorly, and the pitchers were, Mets pitchers. They were good. But this year, at around this time, we're not losing guys. We're getting them back. Max Scherzer just off the aisle. Jake DeGrom going to be back probably one of those first series right after the All-Star break. Depends if they want him to pitch in New York the first time or whatever. So you add these guys, and then you start kind of matching up the Mets versus the Braves, because I think that's where a lot of this is headed in the playoffs. You have Max versus Max, DeGrom versus, Strider. And you kind of look at the depth. Taijuan Walker's having a great year. Granted, he had a great first half last year before kind of falling off. Carrasco has either been great or terrible. And then in the bullpen, Edwin Diaz is just mind-blowingly stupid good. But it just kind of depends. I think, the Braves did a good job last year of adding guys. And even though they were terrible at the time, I mean, we talked about how bad Jock Peterson was, and Eddie Rosario was having a career worst year.
And Duvall.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what they do this year.
You know who else was bad? Jorge Soler. Soler was brutal. We talked about it, like how awful he was, especially against the shift. And what do you do if you're the Royals? He gets to the Braves, and he's
all 4 of those guys did it. And it was just such a random thing. I mean, because they had histories of being, semi-productive players, nothing elite, but then they came to the Braves, and it just kind of, it's a magical thing. When you trade for guys and all 4 do that, you kind of know what's coming.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see if they can attempt to recreate it again.
All right. Well, let's move on then to the Phillies, who are we all picked them to finish in fourth. We basically did. I think everybody got the same. Yeah, everybody did the vanilla thing. Braves,
Yeah.
Mets, Phillies, Marlins, Nationals. Phillies are hanging on by a thread, trying to hold off the Marlins. They're up by what is that, 5 games right now at the moment. And speaking of a thread, that's basically the best way you can describe Bryce Harper's elbow.
And that's not even what has him out right now.
Yeah, what's he out with now?
Yeah, fractured ham.
Oh, did he get hit by
Yeah,
a pitch or something?
yeah, and then he had surgery, so he's 6 to 8 weeks, and that was a couple weeks ago.
That sucks. What are we gonna do here? Well,
And Kyle Schwarber, even though because they were having to DH Harper, then that pushed Schwarber and Castellanos to actually have to play the outfield. Even with no Harper, they're still having to play the outfield every day.
Yeah,
because they called up a lefty slugging kind of career minor leaguer Derek Hall, and he's a DH only type of guy. So
number one pickup in a lot of CBS leagues right now in terms of waiver wire.
Yeah, he's already has 3-4 home runs, big lefty power back. So
I'll pass. That's okay. But we all know Kyle Schwarber. We all thought he was going to mash in this ballpark. He has. Rhys Hoskins having another nice season for them. Harper is always going to be the goods. And then Nick Castellanos has been a major disappointment this season. Still, maybe, Sean, do you see a big second half resurgence for him?
I don't think so. He's I don't know. I feel like he's a guy that kind of cashed it in. I hate saying that about some guys, but there are some guys that, he signed that one contract, but it was a kind of a short-term thing. And then he had a terrible year. And so he opted into it, and then he had a great year and he opted out. And now he signed the long-term deal. And I don't know. It just seems like he's whatever out there.
That is not the Nick Castellanos I know. The Nick Castellanos I know he has, I know you say something, but your actions say something else. But this is a guy that, and I hate to do this because we're not a narrative-based podcast here, but I have to mention it. Like, he says that he goes into every single game that he plays in like it's the first day of spring training. It's one of Joe Madden's favorite players that he's ever managed over for the Cubs. And when Joe Madden was singing his praises like that, and those comments were read to Nick Castellanos on the air when in an interview in front of people at some Wrigley Field bar nearby, he started crying because he's passionate about this game. So it's just, for me, that's like, man, that's a hard sell for me to buy because that's not the Castellanos I know. It's
like he's underperformed. 332 expected WOBA versus actual 295 WOBA. So a little unlucky, but even like a 332 expected WOBA, that's bad for him. He hasn't had anything that low since 2015, since StatCast started. The hard hit rate is a career low. It's dropped over 12%, down from last year. And he's in another hitter's ballpark. High ground ball percentage, highest ground ball percentage he's had since his rookie year, 41%. And anytime you see a 30-year-old start hitting the ball into the ground more, his home run to fly ball rate has plummeted. It was 22 and 23% his 2 years in Cincinnati. It's 8.7 in a very hitter-friendly ballpark. You could say some of that's the humidors, the balls, whatever. But he's just not hitting the balls hard either. So, I don't know. Worries me.
I don't know.
He's always been a great line drive hitter too. He's never been a huge walk guy. The line drive rate is somewhat stabilized, but it's it dropped 5% in the last compared to the last few years.
It's just hard for me to believe that this guy all of a sudden has mailed it in and he's bad now and he's going to be awful. And I don't know. That's a tough.
And the fact that he's maybe I think he was brought in here and expecting he would not have to play the field. And now he's, I think, played out there far more than he has DH'd.
Yeah.
And that could be, a source of contention. Who knows?
Well, I don't know. That's not the Castellanos I know, but maybe money does change people. I don't know. But it's hard to believe that this guy is I don't know. He's always been a pretty darn good hitter, and just all of a sudden he's just going to be, I pull a fast one on everybody. Take that. I don't know, man. That's just a hard sell for me. What else? Marlins. Marlins were always the team that was. Oh, I am so sorry, Austin. Do you have anything else? You know what? We just basically talked about Nick Castellanos in terms of the Phillies, but there's a lot to like about the Phillies. Not enough to win this division or I don't know. Henry has them finishing as a 6th seed. I mean, also, do you see a way that the Phillies are going to sneak into the playoffs this year?
Not with as good as some of these other teams are, and even as good as the rest of this division is. You have, you have the Mets and the Braves who are doing really well. You have the Brewers and the Cardinals who we feel like are playoff teams. You have the Dodgers and the Padres who are all, those guys are performing as playoff teams. Phillies are just not performing up to par, to the same level as those 6 teams I just mentioned are. It's the Mets, the Braves, the Brewers, the Cardinals, the Dodgers, and the Padres, and then there's everybody else. The Phillies are in that next tier. They have a winning record. They have done better since they fired Joe Girardi, and they have good pieces, especially on the offensive side. But, and then they have, Castellanos has underperformed, and I agree with Felipe. I have a really hard time believing that this is the new Nick Castellanos. This is just a fluke year, I think. And I don't see the Phillies playing up to caliber to take over any of those teams right now. So I think they missed the playoffs. I think they're that next tier.
Yeah. Well, we talked about the need for the Phillies to just be competitive because you got to take advantage of Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Still being in his prime, and it's just not working for them.
Yeah, and that's where I think is if Harper was healthy, and they could have just willed their way. I mean, because Zach Wheeler's having another Cy Young caliber year. Aaron Nola's having one of his better years, and since his Cy Young season or almost Cy Young season in 2018, Zach Eflin's been Zach Eflin. And the bullpen has actually been. I know they had a couple of blowups early in the year, but Sir Anthony Dominguez is back from injury. He's having a great year. I don't know. I thought they had a chance this year where they could have just slugged it. I mean, Nola and Wheeler would win him enough games. Harper would have an MVP season like he did last year, but things started going wrong, and just the way that the roster was constructed and built. I'm not a huge fan of Joe Girardi at all, but he was 100% a fall guy here for issues that were beyond his control. I mean, once Harper couldn't play the field because of his elbow, I mean, it's not Girardi's fault that Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos are having to play the outfield every day. I mean, those are 2 of the worst defensive outfielders really in the last 10 years I've ever seen. And with Harper going down, JT Realmuto's having just a terrible year as well, offensively at least. Hoskins is just Hoskins. And Castellanos, you spend all that money and you're not getting anything back. And then Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott have had varying levels of good and bad.
I mean, it's like you're describing the White Sox and the Angels, basically.
Yeah, but it's like theirs isn't even like a depth thing. It's just the pieces don't fit in the puzzle the right way. And once Harper went down, cash in the season. I mean,
it's exposed a lot of things, a lot of shortcomings from that, and it really shows how important Bryce Harper is, not just to this team, but just in baseball in general, Major League Baseball in general. Anyway, that's the Phillies. I'm excited to talk about the Marlins, man. I said all along, the Marlins are going to be that team you just flip over to the channel if you have the extra innings package or whatever they call it, and you just take a look because that's going to be a fun team. Sure, 3 games under 500, 12 games behind first place Mets. And I don't even know where they are in terms of the wild card position right now. Oh, I guess I could. Let's see. What do we got here for the? Okay, over at Fangraphs, they have a 6.8% chance to clinch a wild card spot. So you're saying there's a chance, right? But it's still a fun team. I mean, look at this. It starts to be. It starts with the rotation. Sandy Alcantara. I just saw a headline that said, "Is Sandy Alcantara the best pitcher in baseball right now?" Can he be the best starting pitcher in baseball?
I think he's been one of the best, especially in the National League the last few years. I know I had a conversation with somebody in Baseball Life a couple weeks ago where somebody was talking about Jazz Chisholm, and I think it was when they had the team meeting or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, they're saying this to their best player," and I said, "Jazz Chisholm is not the Marlins' best player," and the guy laughed at me, and he was like, "No, that's no way." And I said, no, it's Sandy Alcantara. It's been Sandy Alcantara. And
Well,
he said, I have to see more from Sandy. And I'm like, the last 2 years, he's been an ace. And then the same guy, at least he did a mea culpa after one of Alcantara's his last start, which was, like 8 innings, 10 strikeouts, whatever. He said, he made a whole new post. He said, whoever the guy was that told me Sandy Alcantara was the Marlins best player, you were right, man.
Well, come on.
I was going to say, what more do you need to see? I mean, 123 in the third innings pitch with a 1.82 ERA. I mean, and he's got a 3.4 WAR. That's.
I mean, if this was Sandy Alcantara,
better than the next pitcher.
Yeah, if this was like back in 2019 and Sandy had like a 3.8 ERA, he wasn't really like the bona fide ace yet. I would understand somebody saying, "Oh, I have to see more." But this is 3 years in a row for Sandy where he's just been elite.
But not just that, but I mean, but the best player, that moniker. I mean, I get it that it's a pitcher, but that moniker usually does go to the everyday players, and by default, Jazz Chisholm is their best player, especially from a position player standpoint, because without him, this lineup looks kind of ordinary.
I still think he's pretty warty, but he's having a much better year than his first 2 years for sure.
I went out to the Schaumburg Boomers game with my friend who's a big White Sox fan, and he's like, "Hey, I heard rumors that Jazz Chisholm might get traded, and the White Sox are in talks with that." And he's never heard of Jazz Chisholm before. So I had to explain who he was and what he does. And when I said that, yeah, you just mentioned it. He likes to talk a lot. He talks a big game, but now this is the first year that he's actually backing it up on a consistent basis. And the first thing he said was, "Oh, so Tony La Russa isn't going to like him, huh?" No, probably not. I mean, Tim Anderson, Jazz Chisholm, same difference. And I mean, he tolerates them. Tony La Russa tolerates Tim Anderson and that. But I don't know. Jazz Chisholm is a little bit younger, a little bit more unproven by comparison. So who knows? But I don't know. I mean, if you're the Marlins, do you trade him just because you don't want to deal with his antics anymore, or you just stick with him and put up with him? Because that is one of the reasons why you tune in to watch the Marlins is because of Jazz Chisholm. Thoughts on Jazz getting traded this season?
I don't think that's happening.
I don't.
That would be like career suicide for Kim Ng. I mean, like I said, I've always been kind of the lower guy on Jazz Chisholm. I think he's I mean, he can't hit lefties. Any sort of like premium value from him would have been everyday Gold Glove caliber shortstop. Here he is. He's 24 years old. He's already been moved off of shortstop because he just was not good at shortstop. And now he's at second base. He's a platoon guy, low OBP. I see like a Javier Baez, but gets platooned. And I mean, John Birdie already steals. I mean, even before John Birdie was becoming a regular and running away with the stolen base title in the National League, he was platooning at the beginning of the year. And Marlins fans were like, "Oh, why is John Birdie playing over Jazz Chisholm? There's a lefty on the mound. Jazz can't hit lefties. He's never hit lefties." And they're like, "But he's Jazz Chisholm. He's our best player. You got to give him a chance to hit lefties." No, he's terrible. And it's not just like he's bad against lefties. He just strikes out all the time. And it's like totally uncompetitive at bats.
Yeah, that's always been his downfall. And that's what I told him. You know what, though? Free swinging guy like that, he fit perfectly with the White Sox. But no, you have to just put up with them a little bit. But then the other guy that they have is Jesus Sanchez, who is they're giving him all the opportunities that he can handle. It's not working out too well, but he does hit 11 home runs. But I mean, there's a lot to like about this team. Garrett Cooper is having a banner year. I was going to say, Brian Anderson looks like he's finally healthy enough, I guess, to play every day. Jacob Stallings, do we buy that Jacob Stallings has been a big improvement as from a defensive standpoint? Because offensively he sucks, but do you think he's done wonders for that young rotation there? Anybody?
Push. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think when it comes to catchers and defensively is great, but can he handle the pitching staff? And I mean, there was already a good pitching staff there when Jacob Stallings got there. Mm-hmm. So you can't even credit, they're doing really well because Jacob Stallings is back there and he knows how to handle the pitching staff. You just, I agree.
And he's having his work. I mean, he's not having, or actually his worst year in terms of framing and called strike rates. And he's terrible offensively. I mean, he's like the opposite of Aaron Judge when you look at the Savant sliders. It's just the exact opposite. Everything's far left. First percentile in expected WOBA. That's sad.
And this is a team that's missing Edward Cabrera. I mean, I know he's a young guy, but I mean, he was
Sixto Sanchez.
Jesus Luzardo is out. And
Once Yuri Perez comes up, I think this team's going to be scary. You're going to have Sandy, Yuri Perez,
Max Meyer.
I think Max Meyer ends up in the bullpen, honestly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think that's where he
Lopez.
ends up. Pablo Lopez, was.
Yeah, and I just mentioned the back end pieces. Now, the guys who are on the team, Pablo Lopez, you just mentioned, Trevor Rogers, we're still kind of waiting for him to duplicate what he did last year. He's off to a bad start, but, he's always had potential. And the new guy, Braxton Garrett, all of a sudden, he's just sitting there waiting for someone to pick him up in fantasy circles. So I decided, okay, I'll be that guy. But Braxton Garrett also looking like, he's had some rough starts, but all the peripherals show that he is not as bad as his traditional numbers show. So Garrett also contributing somewhat, and he's 25 years old.
Played for my high school.
Really?
When he was in 8th grade.
Played
on the high school team, and then his dad was the coach. Coach got fired and moved to Foley, Alabama, down near Mobile. And then he was on the under 19 USA team that pitched or played for in Japan a few years ago. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. It's a little bit of relative greatness here on the show with Braxton Garrett. And of course, the bullpen. Tanner Scott finally got the closer's job. It should have been him all along.
Yeah, but he's not making it easy for Dom Mattingly to keep throwing him out. I've watched him because I have him in my 30-team league. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, he is a heart attack on the mound.
Well, so was Anthony Bender, so he should be used to it. Yeah, that's always been his downfall.
Anthony Bass.
Do we have to?
I mean, he's having a really good season.
Yeah, at 35 years old, though, and I don't know. Tanner Scott just is more, for me personally, just preferential thing. And Tanner Scott is my preferred guy.
And we've always wanted to see Scott have this role for a long time now.
So we have a little bit of bias there, but I mean, I don't want to poo-poo too much on Anthony Bass, but to me, he's not very exciting. I mean, the strikeouts are in there, and this is the first year that it's like what Sean was asking about AJ Minter. Are we going to believe that Anthony Bass finally has fixed his control issues from the past? So I don't know, but it is. I mean, that's why the Marlins are 3 games under 500 is because they do have a lot of question marks in their bullpen, which sucks for their promising starting rotation. Yeah. But and those are the growing pains you take from a young team. But still, I'm not giving up on the Marlins just yet. That's a fun team to watch. That's the team that people should be talking about, not the Orioles.
God, again, we had gone like 35 minutes without him mentioning the Orioles.
You think I was gonna let it go?
And you pull me back in.
That's what I do best, man. Anthony Bass, I'm kind of curious. Statcast pitch type. So he is primarily a sinker pitcher, but it's 57.8% slider pitcher, and he's just is going to live and die with that at the age of 35. So he's going to try to emulate Sergio Romo's career.
At least I liked Anthony Bender before he was hurt. I liked him last year, liked him this year. Yeah. But I didn't like him for the closer because he struggled against lefties. Jimmy Yacobonis is a name. I know Felipe's not going to be excited because he's a former Oriole. But he has gone out there and thrown some stupid pitches. I mean, like mind-bending type pitches, like a 2-seamer that goes up. I mean, it doesn't actually go up, but 15.12 K per 9. I think he was sitting at like a 50% strikeout rate. It's down to 38 now. But he's a name to think of because he never struck out like a bunch of guys in the minors or when he was a starting pitcher in Baltimore or relief pitcher and starter. But this year he went to Miami and in AAA 13.31 K per 9 and at the majors 15.12. So you wonder if like there was a major arsenal change. And I think there has been. I looked at him on Savant the other day and it's like he completely changed. He went from a vertical slider to one of the new sweeping sliders. So
by the way, I take offense to he's an Orioles player, so I'm gonna like him. Hey, Tanner Scott was a former Orioles player.
Yeah, there you go. You're right.
I've been saying, the Marlins, they got Cole Sulzer and Tanner Scott in a trade from the Orioles. Shoot, their bullpen just got a million times better now. Turned out to be a false sense of hope there. All right, last team we're going to talk about, last topic of discussion, the Washington Nationals. mean, it's a clean sweep here. We all thought they were going to finish in dead last, and I guess I don't need to share my screen anymore for those who can see it. Oh, yeah, I forgot we're on YouTube too as well. So, oh well. I mean, it's the Nationals.
It's
I
the
mean,
Nationals.
Austin, is there any positivity that you see from this team at all?
Josh Bell is having a really good season.
Okay.
Josh Bell. I know some people wasn't high on Josh Bell, but I mean, he's got a 308 average, 389 slash line with a 497 slugging. He's slugged 12 homers, 10.8 walk percentage, 13.3 K percentage. I mean, his BABIP is at 328. That's looks like it's best on the team. And then I mean he's had a very good season, in a season that everybody was expecting it to be Juan Soto, and then that's it. In some regards, he's had a better season than Juan Soto. He doesn't have as high of a walk percentage as Juan Soto, and he hasn't hit as many home runs, but still he's hitting for better average. He's slugging better than Juan Soto is. They both have the same WOBA. And they are both batting for the same weighted runs created plus 145. So I mean, very underratedly good season from Josh Bell. I wish Juan Soto would. I mean, I guess Juan Soto is not. I mean, he's hit 17 homers. But I mean, I feel like at this point with Juan Soto, you expect a little better than a 242 average. But that comes with the territory.
You have to get strikes thrown to hit for a high average, and even then,
he has a 395 OBP.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, despite the low average, he has a 474 slugging.
Yeah, I mean, and he's walking 20% of the time. It's just absurd. He's not getting pitched to.
Yeah, so I mean, and he's still hitting for 145 weighted runs created plus. So he's still producing for the Nationals. It's just different than Josh Bell.
Yep. I think the only question that needs to be asked about the Nationals, does Juan Soto sign?
Oh, if the Nationals can give him the money that he's looking for, yeah.
Well, I mean, there was the rumors, what was it, last week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that they had upped their offer to like $425 million.
Okay.
I think it was 13 years, 425.
Okay.
Do you guys think he stays?
I think he wants that. I think he wants that to be closer to 500 million. And knowing the Nationals, a big chunk of it's going to be deferred. And that's how they lost out on Bryce Harper. They let it leak that, hey, we offer Harper 10 years, 300 million. He didn't want that, but they conveniently left out the fact that they deferred a lot of that money.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Phillies, who were like, no, we'll pay you all the money that you want up front. At least that's how I remember it. Something different might happen.
Austin, do you think Soto's going to sign with Washington?
With as bad as this team is, I don't think so. I mean, it's just there's nothing around him. He's not getting pitched to because besides Bell, he's the only hitter on the team.
Yeah.
And then there's no pitching to speak of. The pitching is terrible. So I think with as bad as this team is, I don't think he signs with the Nationals.
Oh, Josiah Gray. I mean, Josiah Gray, it might be a promising guy. He's only 24.
Even Strasburg.
Eventually, right? Eventually, when he
Tyler Clippard's pitching for them in AAA. What?
Surprise.
What? I thought he had retired. No way. I don't believe this.
But yeah, to really talk about the Nationals, you got to look down to see who else is on the in the minor leagues. And there's one of Sean's guys there, Lucius Fox. Remember, you used to talk about it all the time.
Yeah, now, he was a stolen base threat.
Yeah. Now he's with the Nationals, just toiling away at 25 years old.
He's played they've kind of had him on the option train up and down.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Jonah Don, we've seen a little bit of him already, and he's with disastrous results. Cade Cavalli is a highly touted prospect. Same with Cole Henry, who I'll be honest, I don't know much about him, but he's the 88th best prospect for Fangraphs at this point. But there's Tyler Clippard there. Anybody in AA?
It's so funny because Tyler Clippard's actually been good in AAA. 35 innings and 2.5 ERA, K per 9 of almost 12. And it's like, imagine just like going up there and facing a 37, 38-year-old Tyler Clippard. Like he doesn't need to be playing in AAA. Like he just wants to go out there and strike guys out, I guess.
But no, man, there's a lot to be desired on this team. And aside from Soto, who is full of promise, I mean, not full of promise, but he would be the cornerstone of that team. And it looks like he has a good running mate in Josh Bell. There's really nothing else about this team that makes you go like, wow, what? Just give it a little bit more time, give it a little bit more patience, and you'll see some great things out of this team. I'm not seeing it, man.
I think Josh Bell's gone. Him and Cruz are both getting traded.
Wow. All right. Well, now it's going to get worse then. So
yeah, I mean, because Bell is a free agent.
If that happens, Juan Soto is definitely not signing.
Well, I think because they could still sign him, and he's 24 years old. You sign him for 13 years. I mean, you spend 4 years of it rebuilding, but he's still there when you come out the other side. Or not even 4 years, maybe 3, because they have some of the pieces already. Yeah, Josh Bell's a free agent at the end of the year. So yeah, he's gone.
All right. Last thing, I promise. I know I said that was going to be the last thing. Nah, let's go look at these. Oh
God,
these horrible predictions for the World Series. There, if you guys can see it. Everybody had the Blue Jays and the Dodgers seemingly, except for Sean, who had the Yankees and the Brewers. It's looking like Sean's predictions for the World Series are going to come a lot more truer than ours, although the Dodgers are always going to be a competitive team. But according to the Fangraphs World Series percentages, it looks like it's going to be the Dodgers and the Astros at the end. If that's the case, who wins the World Series, Dodgers or Astros?
Oh,
I'm going to go with the Dodgers.
I think Dodgers revenge tour, Clayton Kershaw. Probably that would be a way for him to go out. He has a dominant World Series, wins maybe World Series MVP, and then he's done.
All right. Well, what if it's the Yankees? Because it might be the Yankees at the end. Yankees or Dodgers?
Yankees.
I think I go Dodgers.
Still, huh?
Yeah. Even though I picked the Brewers in the actual predictions, which I still think the Brewers could literally just go on a tear. They could be a team that trades for Josh Bell.
Hey, there you go. I think I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I would go with Austin and go with the Yankees and just envision just Aaron Judge just crapping all over Dodgers pitching, and then 2 years from now we find out that they were cheating all along. So
they were cheating all along.
Yeah, well, it just so happens that they're in New York, so they have access to all the cameras that they want. That's right. That's who when umpires call a replay, they call New York. I always hear
it's in Chelsea. The bunker in Chelsea is what Gary from S&Y call it. Also, I'm not sure if you guys have watched games recently, but in the last few games the Mets have played, the reviews have been like a minute. They've been super fast. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if that's a league-wide thing. I haven't seen other reviews from other games, but in the last week or so, anytime there's a challenge on a play, they're going and they're making the calls quick. And I actually really enjoy it. I hate when they would go to review and spend 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just for the call to stand.
Maybe they're getting better at it. I don't know. It's not easy because they're not just looking at the play itself, but they're also looking at other stuff.
Yeah.
At least that's where we're led to believe. I know in the NFL, it could be very frustrating because those games last a long time too. And in the NBA, it seems like there's a review every 30 seconds in the last 2 minutes of the game, and that's really caused some uproar.
Reviews are getting shorter, and Red Sox's inability to see the ball is growing.
And then last question, I guess, since we're talking about potential World Series, Braves or Yankees, who wins? Just shout it out.
Yankees.
Yankees or Mets, who wins?
Yankees.
Mets.
Of course.
Well, at that point, you have to go with who has, DeGrom and Max Scherzer in a playoff series is. Sorry, I can't not pick them.
All right. Anybody else have double-digit odds besides the teams I'm mentioning? No. All right, so let's just finish it up then. Astros or Braves, who wins?
Astros
or Mets?
Mets.
Astros.
Oh, look at that.
Astros.
Okay. Throwing me a curveball. All right. I did not expect that.
Well, I could say the Mets too, because the Mets just got swept by Houston in their 4-game set against them.
God damn.
Well, it was 2-2, and it's very reminiscent of when the Mets faced the Cubs in 2015 into the regular season. They swept us. I think it was 6-0, and then in the playoffs, we know how that went. So
Yeah. All right. Well, interesting. I mean, that's a lot to uncover. I failed to realize just how massive, talking about 30 teams in a short period of time. But I think we did it. I think we deserve an all-star break of ourselves as well. Any final words, Austin?
No, happy All-Star break, everybody. I'm gonna be I'll be taking a bit of a hiatus for the next few weeks. I will be in Seattle. So
Going to the games?
I will be going to the Mariners. Yep, I'll be
Yes.
going to a Mariner game while I'm out there. So, but I won't be here for the next 3 weeks. So happy All-Star break and hold down the fort while I'm gone.
And then Sean, what's up, man? What do you got for me?
I'll be here.
That's it.
I'll be there for you.
But no, we're gonna take an all-star break. This is 2 episodes. I can already feel the glare from my wife being pissed at me. Like this is ridiculous. I'm supposed to be grilling right now. So, but all right. I hope you guys enjoyed our
I can feel the
recap.
glare of the sun.
Yeah, remember the old Super Mario game, and you had to race against the sun because the sun was attacking you. That's basically what my wife's about to do to me right now. But now we got the American League recap, we got the National League recap at the midway point. It's been an interesting season so far. It's only gonna get better. All-Star break is coming. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to cover it until well after, but that's fine. I had some plans, but this is fine. I mean, this is a lot of things that we uncovered today. So for Sean, that's Austin over there. I am Felipe. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Adios.